What's going on, San Antonio? What's going on, South Texas? My name is Mike Jimenez, and this is the Acquired Taste on the Acquired Taste Network, coming at you from Northwest San Antonio. Again, my name is Mike Jimenez. Joe Garcia is producing today's show. It's going to be a fun show going till about 1:15 today. We're streaming live on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook. If you want to take part in the conversation, by the way, you can leave us a message or actually respond to us on YouTube. We get your messages in real time, and we can respond to them in real time. And guess what, Joe? I understand that we have a new phone line that we're introducing today.
Yeah, we're going to introduce that later on in the show, so you can open that up to the listeners, to the fans, and they can call in and talk with us.
I'm excited for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I had a fantastic Father's Day.
Nice.
Father's Day was nice. I got to spend it with two of my three kids and my wife. My dad, I got to see my dad. We went to Texas Roadhouse, and I always have to question exactly how many of those rolls with the cinnamon butter can I have.
Oh, man.
I limited myself to 2. I wanted the third one, right? But I limited myself to 2 because I would regret it in the morning if I did. But I had a fantastic time. How was your Father's Day?
It was a great Father's Day. I got to spend some time with my father, and he doesn't get out much. So being able to spend time with him and, his grandkids at the same time, my children, it's a great blessing. I don't know how much longer we're going to have him with us, but
that's right.
Hey, every minute counts, and it was a good Saturday. Celebrated a little early with them. So overall, had a great Father's Day. Just hanged out with the family, just kicked back, and just had a nice, relaxing day.
I did a little swimming.
Nice.
It was nice. Got a lot more sun. Not that I need any more of it. I'm a good shade of brown right now. I'm always brown, but I get darker during the summer. 103 degrees yesterday, but it didn't feel that way in the pool, so I was excited about that. I am fired up because people were coming at me on Twitter, and I need to respond. And we're going to get into it later on in this show, but we are going to continue the movie reviews. So if you remember me from a past life on the radio, I would do movie reviews on Wednesdays. Now we're going to do it on Monday, right? So Monday movies is what we're doing. And today's movie, as opposed to doing a nostalgic one of the 80s or 90s that I had never seen before, I chose a movie that just got released a couple of weeks ago, and it's on Hulu. It's called Flamin' Hot, and it's about the creation of Hot Cheetos, right? Yeah. Frito-Lay. And it was directed by Eva Longoria. I believe this was her first movie that she's ever directed. The movie getting so much publicity that it was actually screened at the White House last week. Was this movie any good or not? So we're going to discuss that in about 30 minutes or so. Going to also talk about the TV show Primo, which is on Amazon. Freevee, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, Freevee.
So that is a show that Shea Serrano put together. It's kind of based on his life. Shea Serrano, who is a New York Times bestseller, who is from San Antonio. This show is set in San Antonio, and a lot of people got turned off by what I had to say. And it's not so much about the show. That's the thing. It's not necessarily my opinion about the show. It's just how it fits in the universe that is Latino pop culture. And we'll get into that sometime towards the end of the show. But if you want to be part of this, again, the best way to be part of this show is to do it through YouTube, because your comments come up on our screen here. For example, Noah reaches out, says, USA, back-to-back champs. USA beat Canada yesterday.
Damn right
2-0 in the CONCACAF final yesterday. It was very good. I saw the first half. That's all you need to see, because both goals were scored in the first half. Matthew Larama asking the question, what's up, fellas? Matt, hope you're having a fantastic Juneteenth Independence Day. It's a federal holiday, right? So a lot of people have the day off. I have the day off in my day job. My wife, though, had to go work because this is a federal holiday that became a federal holiday back in 2021. So it's only been around for a few years. But a lot of people have the day off, and some people got upset that I said Happy Independence Day, but that is what it's called. It is called Juneteenth Independence Day. It's not Emancipation Day. It is Juneteenth Independence Day because, if I'm not mistaken, this is when the slaves in Texas were told that the Civil War was over and that they were going to be freed. So this is something that is being celebrated more and more. Several states have celebrated this since the 1920s, 1930s, Texas included, but it became a federal holiday back in 2021. I'm fired up today. People are reaching out to us on Twitter, reaching out to us on YouTube. We are 2 people shy of having our 300th YouTube subscriber. Every day I go on and I wake up every morning and it says you have 14 new subscribers, 10 new subscribers. We had 274 in the first week. And then over the weekend, got another 24 more. We're at 298. Dude, we're going to get up there, dude. I see us at over 1,000 by the end of the year easily.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. You know, and a two away from 300, I'm like, just go ahead and hit subscribe.
Yes.
You know, come on.
Do it. And for those of you who do subscribe, share it. Okay. If you have Facebook, for example, share our link on YouTube, spread the word, because we're trying to fill the gap of sports talk radio in San Antonio, because they go dark from 10 to 2 here in the Alamo City. From 10 to 2, it goes to national programming. That's when the Colin Cowards of the world come out. That is when the Dan Patricks of the world come out. No one wants to listen to that. People want to hear local voices, and that's what we're doing here from 12 to about 1:15. And again, the goal is in about 30 days or so, I'd say around August, expand this out to maybe a 1.5, 2 hour show. And then maybe, just maybe, get going around 10 a.m. with another host. Wouldn't that be cool to have 2 or 3 hosts on a daily basis? We're doing a fantasy football show starting August 6th with Brandon Medina. I'm going to be along for the ride, but Brandon, that is his show.
Yeah,
he's going to be doing it.
It's going to be interesting to listen to that fantasy sports talk, because that's really a big winner amongst, a lot of sports fanatics, especially when they're getting ready for their, sports venues that come out, or sports events, like, for example, NFL football. That's quite a big thing. Everybody's trying to go ahead and get the one up on their friends, because they want to go ahead and win, because they want to win their little, division that they got going on with other people on the fantasy sports outlet. But not only that, but you can make some real money betting on the games.
That's the thing, and that's what Brandon and I will be talking about. We'll give our bets of the week. We'll also talk about fantasy football, who you should start, who you should bench. But leading up to it, 4 weeks before the NFL season starts, that's when we start talking about draft strategy when it comes to a snake draft or an auction league. Brandon and I are pretty good. We don't call ourselves the fantasy gods because we suck at fantasy football. We're pretty good.
You're not coming in last.
No, not at all. And the only times I ever come in last, if it ever happens, is if my team is decimated by injuries. And you can't avoid that. It just kind of is what it is.
Y'all should have a draft party when you're selecting your players. That would be fun. Yeah,
most definitely. We have a new phone line, 210-305-7063. Again, 210-305-7063. If you want to be part of the conversation, numbers on the screen right there, 210-305-7063. So what are we talking about in today's show? We're going to get into the new article about Victor Wembanyama on ESPN.com that got posted this morning. Brian Windhorst, who's going to be his new shadow, did a really interesting story about Wemby today. We'll get into that. The proposed trade involving Brandon Beal and CP3 looks like it's imminent, going to be finalized. And does that actually make the Phoenix Suns a contender in the Western Conference? Or is it just all to do about nothing? Is it just a ho-hum type of deal? I mean, it's not often a 3-time All-Star becomes available. But Brandon Beal is somebody who doesn't actually get on the court very often these days. So is this really a big deal? Going to also talk about the salary cap, because the salary cap to me right now is an absolute joke. Get in a little bit on U.S. soccer yesterday. U.S. soccer beat Canada for the CONCACAF final. Mexico made a fool out of themselves in the semis. Complete jackassery all around. Mexico also took to the pitch yesterday, so we'll get into that. And then we're also talking a lot about pop culture, because the thing about pop culture, we like to get into it over here. Going to do a movie review of Flamin' Hot, the new movie directed by Eva Longoria, and I love her. I love her. I love her mind. I love her look. I love everything about Eva Longoria. And she says she's moving back to San Antonio.
I heard that.
She was just interviewed the other day, and they're asking her about the Hollywood lifestyle. And she goes, I'm going home. And they said, well, what do you mean by going home? She goes, I'm moving back to San Antonio. So that's very cool. So Eva Longoria, San Antonio girl. San Antonio boy being Shea Serrano, his show Primo, was not going to review it, but I kind of feel like I need to touch on this. We'll get into that as well. Again, we're streaming live on Twitter, streaming live on Facebook, streaming live on YouTube right now. Again, subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. That helps out when it comes to the metrics, if you will, of what we're doing over here. Again, our new phone line is 210-305-7063 if you want to be part of this conversation. Now, before we get started, don't forget to follow and subscribe to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs. Again, it is daily content when it comes to our silver and black. Jeff Garcia right now producing that content, even though he is sick right now, but he needs to rest up. He was going to be on the show today, but we need him to rest up a little bit because he's going to be at the NBA draft on Thursday when the Spurs select Victor Wembanyama, number 1 overall in the draft. Who are the Spurs going to get in the second round at 34? I think they're at 33, 34. And then who are they going to get with their second round pick later on in the night? Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs. I listen to Jeff Garcia on Spotify. That's how I follow. Every day I open up my Spotify account, and if I'm not listening to music, I'm listening to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs. Subscribe to him, and also on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Another thing about Spotify, our shows end up on Spotify at the end of the day. So this is a show that we're trying to be a little bit more dynamic when it comes to things. Local sports radio over here doesn't have the capacity to do a lot when it comes to social media, when it comes to posting shorts and videos and things like that. But Joe Garcia is all over it, man. All over it. But again, happy Juneteenth Independence Day to everybody. Hope you have the day off. Hope you're kicking back and watching the show. And if you're not kicking back at home and you're at work, I hope you're enjoying your lunch break. I hope that you're in the restroom right now listening to this and giving us 10, 15, 20, 60 minutes of your time. Just tell them it was a long dump, man. Just tell them it was a long dump.
Just hiding out. You're just hiding out in the stall. And it's a Monday, you just don't feel like working.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a couple extra minutes. Watch the show.
It's like that. It's like that story goes. If you spend 10 minutes in the crapper every day at work, that's like 50 minutes a week, and you add it all up over 52 weeks. It's like getting an extra couple of weeks of vacation.
That's true.
The math somehow checks out. I don't know what the math is, but it's an old meme that I saw.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sports, though, to get going, because allegedly we talk sports talk over here. I logged on to ESPN.com this morning. First thing I saw was an article by Brian Windhorst of ESPN.com. He's the guy that's been following LeBron James for the better part of 2 decades. I joke that he is LeBron's shadow. And notice how, as LeBron's entering the twilight of his career, I'm thinking there's maybe only 2 more years of LeBron James. Brian Windhorst is now spending more time away from LeBron. And who's he spending that time with?
Let me see.
Some 7'5" guy.
Somebody maybe that was on the plane a little earlier in the day, and which they were showing him on the plane. They showed when he landed. He was getting ready for the draft.
That's right. Victor Wembanyama. Brian Windhorst is following him around, and there were reports out there that Brian Windhorst might be looking for some property or looking for a place to be over here in San Antonio, because the biggest storyline is the fact that Wemby's come into San Antonio, come into the NBA. And I found it interesting when you talk about this article. It wasn't the most in-depth article, but it mentions several things. Some notes of this. Brian Windhorst says that Wemby studied 3 players a lot when it came to preparing himself in the French leagues, the professional leagues over there. Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, and Pistol Pete Maravich. I mean, going back in time for Pistol Pete, because Wemby has handles. And this particular article was asking the question, what can he morph himself into? What position does he play? Because he kind of plays all the positions at one time. But what I found interesting was he was talking about the fact that Wemby has been playing pro ball since he was in his mid-teens. And the idea of, well, he didn't play college, so therefore he's not ready. He's not ready to contribute early on. He's been playing against 25 and 30 and 35-year-olds for the better part of the last 4 or 5 seasons. So the guy's ready. He's ready. And I am more and more confident that Victor Wembanyama will be Rookie of the Year and that this Spurs team will actually do very, very well this upcoming year. Now, the thing about it is, Joe, I start thinking about betting when it comes to this. Can I put my money where my mouth is? And a good buddy of mine has been sending me photos of DraftKings Sportsbook talking about if you want to bet on the Spurs. Did you know that you can get 2-1 on your money if you bet that the Spurs are going to have 35 or more wins this year?
I saw that, and I think some betting site was putting the numbers up there. I mean, can you imagine if you go ahead and bet, make a bet right now over in Vegas that the Spurs are going to win us at something like 35 games or more? It was like 42, I think. If you get 42, you get a good amount of money back in return.
35 wins.
Yeah.
35 wins gets you 2-1 on your money. So you put $100 down, you get your 100 back plus 200. You profit 200. But for them to have a winning record, just get to 41 wins, 41 and 41. You're looking at odds right now of 6.5 to 1 odds.
Jeez, man.
You put $500
Wow.
and they have a 500 record. $500, right?
500.
You profit like over $3,000.
Now that's a bet.
Dude.
That's a bet.
I might have to like hide some money from the missus on this one. Okay.
500 went missing. Hey, say something happened with the car. You have to get a repair.
That's right. It was a deductible, baby.
There you go.
I got to split it up a little bit. Maybe put a couple $100 on the 35 and a couple $100 on the 41 wins.
Yeah.
Make it so. Brian Windhorst's article today also talked about the fact that he says that, I don't know if you know this, but Victor Wembanyama wants to be a star immediately. David Robinson, kind of, I wouldn't call it Robinson an introvert, but he was an ambivert, a little bit of both. Tim Duncan, very introverted. Victor Wembanyama, not that way. He has wanted to be a superstar from the very beginning. And that's why I'm saying that I don't think San Antonio is ready for this. And I'm not saying that San Antonio cannot figure it out and fall in love with it. But what I'm saying is that if you think that he's going to be there and just do the quote unquote Spurs way and that Pop is going to be able to muzzle him, I'm sorry, dude. Different player, different generation. Different player, different generation.
Yeah, Pop, sign of the times.
Pop does not mean as much as Victor Wembanyama. If Wemby doesn't want him, Pop ain't there.
That's a tough one, though, because I think what we saw right now is that they were going to go ahead and extend Pop. You know, he has a new deal coming out.
And we keep hearing that he's going to get a 3-year deal, but there's no one reputable that's saying that. You know, I know that Sports Illustrated had a column about it, and then the people that they're quoting don't know. No one knows.
Nah.
But do I want Pop here another 3 years? Well, if he's going to be a modern coach, then I wouldn't mind. And Pop has shown the ability to modernize himself as time goes on. We saw that in 2014 with the beautiful game. The Spurs evolved from being a team that was winning NBA titles, scoring 83 points per game, to a team that was putting up 120 on the Miami Heat because they were able to pass it around, incorporate three-point shooting. We've seen Pop be able to be part of the modern game and to jump ahead of the trends. He needs to do that again when it comes to Victor Wembanyama. Might take some time, but man, 35 wins? Kidding me, dude. This team is a 500 team or better easily. I think they're 46 wins easily.
Oh man, that thing now you're doing a stretch. To me, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm just trying to be realistic for this upcoming season. And if the team can go ahead and just flirt with the playing game, I'll be happy.
No, they're gonna be a 6 seed this year.
We'll see.
Yep. They won't need the play-in. They'll be above the play-in this year.
I'm gonna hold you to that, man. I'm gonna hold you to that. We got the soundbite already.
Yeah. Yeah. The receipts, baby. It's all about the receipts. I know some things, you know, I called the Nuggets in 5, you know, for crying out loud. So speaking of the Nuggets, they are the prohibitive favorites coming into this season in the Western Conference. They have Nikola Jokic, who's the best player in the NBA. And it's interesting to see that the last 5 MVP awards in the NBA have been won by foreign-born players. And Victor Wembanyama coming in from France, having Jeremy Sohan, who's also from Europe, next to him. I like the European mentality when it comes to things. And I think Sohan's going to benefit so much from having Victor Wembanyama at his side. So much so. But the thing about it is that you got to ask yourself the question, who's going to catch the Denver Nuggets this year? And a lot of people are going to say the Lakers, but come on, man. I don't buy that. That bubble championship was worthless anyway. LeBron's older. AD is older. They're going to be losing players. Reeves might not return because he's a restricted free agent. And then you have other teams out there like the Phoenix Suns. The Suns over the weekend kind of made headlines because there's the belief that they're finalizing a trade right now with the Washington Wizards that would send Bradley Beal, a 29-year-old 3-time All-Star combo guard, to the Suns in exchange for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, some second-rounders, and a couple of swaps along the way. They're calling this the Big Three, maybe the Big Four of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and then also DeAndre Ayton. Weird thing about it is that they have 4 max players. How does one team have 4 max players on the roster? Can someone explain to me how this works? Because I understand the guidelines of the salary cap, and I understand how certain exemptions work and that you can pay more to keep a player. I get all of that. But the idea that you have 4 max players on one team is stupid. I know there's a super max and then there's a regular max. I understand all that. But the thing is that everyone's getting so excited about Beal going over to the Phoenix Suns, and I don't get it. It does make them a better team because CP3 tends to wilt towards the end of the season, tends to get hurt. CP3 is older, and they get rid of that contract. But at the same time, the contract that they're assuming right now is so bizarre because Bradley Beal's under contract until 2026, 2027 season. It's going to make $46.7 million this year, then $50 million the year after that, then $53 million the year after that, and then he has a player option for $57 million in the 26-27 season. The Suns got rid of CP3's contract, but assumed this whale of a deal for a guy that has not played more than 60 games since 2019. 60 is the most he has played. The guy is forever hurt. Bradley Beal, he's a guy that can make 22, 23 points per game. He is forever hurt. So am I excited for the Phoenix Suns? No. Do they get better? Maybe a little. Are they now NBA contenders for the finals for the Western Conference? No. Dude, Denver right now is poised to be that team that can make a run for 3 seasons in a row. And I'm a firm believer that as of right now, the Golden State Warriors are on life support. Dude,
Yeah.
Curry's getting old. Klay Thompson is a dinosaur out there. He is so old looking. He might be 33 years old, but his body is 53 years old. And then Draymond Green's Draymond Green. I mean, you can't get back-to-back games from him. He's entered that Tim Duncan part of his career where, remember, Duncan would play like an all-star one game, but couldn't do it on back-to-back games. I mean, he would play decent the second game, but only all-star one game at a time. That's Draymond Green right now. I don't see any other team right now jumping up in the West. Like, I think it's the Nuggets in tier 1, and then there's like maybe 3 or 4 teams in tier 2, and the Spurs can find themselves in that tier 3 level right away this year.
You know what's surprising to me? When I'm looking at stats right now, just from the Phoenix Suns and what they were able to do in the 2022-2023 season, some of the things that stand out that surprise you are they were a very good defensive team. They were ranked 7th out of 30 teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
Pace. This is surprising. I thought they would have been a little faster. They're 22nd out of 30 teams, which means that they're near at the bottom when it comes to pace.
Part of that could have been CP3's injuries. They didn't have, that floor general out there all the time. Matt Larimer reaches out to us on YouTube. Again, you can leave your comments saying that's why the luxury tax exists. Talking about the fact that the Phoenix Suns have 4 max players on their roster. Right now, what they're going to have on their team this year is 4 max players, 1 player on an exemption for about $5 million, and then you're going to have about 10 players on the minimum. That's how they're going to fill out the rest of their team. Noah Perez reaches out and says, Draymond gone.
Yeah, we got another comment here.
Yeah, Christopher Pena reached out and says, the Southwest Division is theirs for the taking. If Zion leaves New Orleans, if Kyrie leaves Dallas, and chemistry issues with Memphis, they're going to have John Morant gone for a quarter of the season. So
yeah, 25 games.
Dude, if the Spurs won the division,
it would be amazing. It'd be a miracle, man.
46 wins might make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you think about if they actually do that, it would be one of the quickest turnarounds since David Robinson came to the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, What were they? They were 21-61.
Yeah, and then he came and they won like
56
games. I mean, it was crazy.
I'm not going to go that far and say the Spurs are going to win 56 games, but I think 46 is doable because, again, they may have only won 22 last year, but they tanked. They lost on purpose. That was not a 22-win team. That was a 30-35 win team that lost on purpose, and the lottery hit for us. So for us to say that if that was a 30-win team to begin with, you add Wemby to it, 45, 46 wins, makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, and you know what's funny to me? I always think about that one meme that they have with that guy from one of the beer commercials. I don't always drink beer, but when I do, and this is the same thing with the Spurs. We don't always tank, But when we do, we get a number 1 pick.
Yeah, we get Tim and we get Wemby. We didn't tank for Robinson, that's for sure. We just sucked in the 80s.
Yeah, they were just bad.
Is what it was. Harry reaches out to us on YouTube and says, "What's up, Jimenez? Looking forward to your show tomorrow with Mike Taylor, the one, the only." Mike and Mike in the afternoon is basically what it's going to be. Mike Taylor.
Hey, I like the show tomorrow. I like the sound of that show. Mike and Mike in the afternoon.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's one of those things, and people reaching out to me yesterday and over the weekend saying worlds colliding when I posted on Twitter that I was going to be on the show. So you've got the mayor and the flip flopper. You've got the mayor and the acquired taste going together. And I don't know how the show's going to go. I think that we're probably going to talk sports for about 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes, and then maybe just answer people's questions. But again, if you want to have your questions answered, you've got to get on our YouTube stream. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate you guys watching on Facebook and watching on Twitter, but YouTube is what pops up on my screen over here whenever we get these comments, and we can display your comments on there. Again, we're just 2 people shy of having 300 people, 300 subscribers.
300.
Very, very nice. Again, Mike Taylor tomorrow. Today is Movie Review Monday. We're going to be doing Flamin' Hot, the new movie the new movie directed by Eva Longoria. God, I love her. Eva Longoria.
Who doesn't love
Eva Longoria is perfection. She is just perfect in my eyes.
She can do it all. She's a great actress.
She's funny actress.
Beautiful.
She's beautiful. She is smart,
and she can direct.
She can direct, and she's also someone very a lot of business savvy.
She's a businesswoman, no doubt.
In what she does. But again, we're going till about 1:15 today. I got a question for you listeners. Are you a first-time home buyer and don't know where to begin? Or are you looking to buy or sell a home? Well, look no further and reach out to Cynthia J. Sanchez with J. Parr Real Estate today. We're flashing her number on the screen right now, 210-273-0748. Cynthia J. Sanchez, J. Parr Real Estate, sponsoring our show today. Cynthia has been servicing the greater San Antonio area for 16 years. During this time, she's become a top producing agent in real estate and an industry leader. Her experience in real estate, especially with the military community, has attributed to her knowledge, excellent customer service, and professionalism. Finding the perfect home and negotiating the best price for you is just the beginning of what she will do for you. Cynthia J. Sanchez will go above and beyond to ensure you're happy, because with her, your family, and Cynthia J. Sanchez, just to let you know, is my personal real estate agent. She helped me find a house about 5 years ago. Happy to report that the value of that house has gone up nearly $250,000 in those 5 years. She found a house for me that she goes, this is a very nice house. It's brand new. It's in a very good neighborhood, but they're trying to get out of the neighborhood. It's one of the last builds that they had. And she goes, you need to get this because you're walking into equity. And then with the values of the houses going up, I mean, I take a look at it. I could sell it for $250 more than what I bought it.
It's a good profit right there.
Yeah. And again, Cynthia J. Sanchez at J. Parr Real Estate, 210-273-0748. Beyond that, she's been talking to me about like Airbnbs and these investment properties. I have an investment property, but I'm pretty close to paying it off. And I'm questioning whether or not I should just get a second one because that's how you make money these days, man.
Oh, yeah.
Real estate is where it's at. But want to welcome Cynthia J. Sanchez to our family, J. Parr Real Estate, because again, they're keeping the lights on by sponsoring the Acquired Taste. But again, Cynthia J. Sanchez, 210-273-0748. If you don't have that number handy, don't have a pen, just DM me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or wherever, YouTube, and I will make sure to get you her contact information. Hey, real fast, congrats to the U.S. men's national soccer team. Won the CONCACAF Nations League final yesterday, 2-0 over Canada. I watched about 30 minutes of it. Both goals scored in those 30 minutes, so that was good viewing for me. Match took place in Las Vegas. It was nice seeing them get their gold medals at the end and seeing U.S. soccer suddenly become more and more relevant. Seeing these younger players who were considered to be phenoms suddenly come out and play well. It was more than just Christian. I mean, there's other players coming out there and doing their thing. The U.S. was shorthanded, was without 2 players who received red cards against Mexico. Okay, that sucks to not be in the championship because you got a red card. But, man, that Mexico team, the more I watch those highlights, the more I'm like, dude, they're crazy. Like, there's absolutely no leadership on that squad to allow it to get to that level that it was at the 68-minute marker in the semis. But I'm glad the U.S. won. And Mexico did take the pitch yesterday. They won the consolation game. So there you go. Golf clap to Mexico. You were third place. The U.S. won first place in the CONCACAF finals.
Yeah, it's a good thing they didn't have this over in Mexico, because the USA beat Mexico, and they probably would have burnt the stadium to the ground, man.
I think so?
I think so.
What I was disappointed by, though, was that when they gave the awards, it was in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So normally when you win a championship, you kind of stay to watch the presentation. That place was relatively empty when they all got their medals, because it's Vegas, baby. We got slots. We got shows to watch. We got things to do.
Everybody's going to the strip.
Everyone just took off. So funny. But again, congratulations to the U.S. Good Lord. Let's get into some pop culture. We got some video of BB Rexha.
Oh, man.
I love me some BB Rexha. She is a very popular pop star. She has 4 songs that have over 1 billion streams on Spotify. She's also, for guys that like curvy girls, this girl, I mean, lots of junk in the trunk on this woman. Very talented. She did that song with Florida Georgia Line, If It's Meant to Be. That song was all over the place. But let's go ahead and share the video from yesterday. She was performing a concert in New York City, which I believe is where she's from. And there were some jackasses out there in the audience, and one threw a bottle at her face and connected. Okay, so you know how sometimes, like we were talking about U.S. Mexico, when they play each other in soccer and there was a fight going on, people were throwing water bottles, right? And the water bottles were hitting the field, but none of them hit the players, right? Because if you're hurling it from a distance, the odds of you making contact are very, very low. But what we're seeing right now is BB Rexha getting pelted in the face by a bottle. She got rushed off the stage and had to go get stitches and did not continue the concert. Imagine going to a concert, being super excited, getting all dressed up. You're in New York City. You're making your way to this venue. And then suddenly the concert's over. Concert's over.
And I'm showing the picture right now of BB Rexha, and she had the 3 stitches, and she's got a black eye. She's got a bruise on the side of her face. This was not a fun moment for her. She's out there performing for her fans, and then some jackass just decides out of nowhere to go ahead and throw a phone at her. They did catch him.
They did
catch him, and they arrested him and charged him with battery.
Yes, a big old black eye on her face, stitches on her eyebrow, and she's giving a thumbs up. BB Rexha is a friend of the NFL, by the way. She performed at the halftime show at the Detroit Lions game during Thanksgiving last year. She is beautiful. She is talented. And I cannot believe that there's some jackass out there at a concert willing to throw a phone,
a big phone too.
I mean, threw like an iPhone or a Samsung at her.
Yeah.
And right on the face. I mean, just picture that. I'm picking up my phone right now. It's probably half a pound, and just hurling it at her. And she's on stage and she's just doing her thing, and just boom, right on the face.
Think of the seriousness that this could have caused her. Like, she could have lost an eye or something if they hit her just a little lower.
Could have broken her nose.
Yeah.
Could have done a lot. Could have knocked out teeth. Ridiculous, man. But
I mean, what is this going to do too? Is it going to be like you're not going to be able to bring your phone into a concert if they keep doing stuff like this?
That's a good point.
You know?
That is a good point. It's so stupid. I can't believe we live in a world that's like that. And I understand, people throwing crap at Guns N' Roses back in the day when GNR would do 3 songs and say, we're not feeling it today, and we're just going to rush off the stage. I understand being pissed off right there. But in that particular moment, she's in the middle of a song. She's not there talking politics. Yeah. She's not there doing anything. She's in the middle of a freaking song. And she just gets hit right in the eye. Just right smack in the eye. BB Rexha, man, I was looking at it. 4 songs on Spotify right now. 4 songs on Spotify that have over a billion listens, a billion streams. Some of those songs include I'm Good, also known as Blue, has 1 billion streams. In the Name of Love has 1.3 billion streams. Meant to Be has close to 1.3 billion streams. Me, Myself, and I, 1.2 billion. And then she has a song called I'm a Mess that has 620 million streams. She's not a nobody. I mean, she's a big name, and she got attacked on stage. Imagine if that happened to Taylor Swift.
Oh man, no.
Dude, if they would have be more than just arrest whoever did that, that guy would not have gone out there alive. He would have been just
The fans would have taken care of
yeah.
him.
The Swifties would have provided swift justice.
Yes.
When it comes to it all. Yeah, but we're live right here at the Acquired Taste Studios, West Northwest San Antonio. We're in the 151 Petranco area. For those of you wondering exactly where we're doing this, but again, we're live on Twitter, Facebook. We're live on YouTube as well. Lots of people coming in, asking, are reaching out to us right now. Chris Gonzalez reached out and says, BB got those curves. That's putting it lightly, dude. That is putting it lightly. I mean, you know, guys come in 2 flavors for the most part. You know, they either like it up top or down low. I'm a down low kind of guy. BB Rexa, goodness. Straight up 10. Straight up 10. Even with the black eye. Straight up
Even
10.
with the black guy.
Straight up 10. You know, my wife doesn't like her too much. I mean, she likes her music, but she goes, she looks a little trashy. And I'm like, no. Joshua reaches out to us and says the Swifties would have mobilized and brought the justice. Most definitely. But again, she has like billions of streams on Spotify. And speaking of Spotify, that's how I listen to the Locked On Spurs podcast with Jeff Garcia. We're talking daily content when it comes to your favorite basketball team. Again, Wemby's going to be drafted on Thursday, and Jeff Garcia will be all over it. He has posted stories over the weekends about Brian Wright's message to fans following the success at the NBA draft lottery. Also has a story that he posted about Keldon Johnson and Austin Spurs Caleb Johnson teaming up for the Keldon and Caleb Johnson Summer Camp 2023. Again, the Johnsons, they are brothers. Lots of things going on over here. And he's a big supporter of this show. Again, Jeff Garcia, you can follow him at Jeff G Spurs Zone on Twitter. I listen to him on Spotify. That's how I get my content. Sometimes I'm on the show. You know, we like to talk about the Spurs. We like to talk about Wemby. We like to talk about all sorts of things. But I'm a big fan of Locked On Spurs, and you should be too. Moment of truth there. Which do you want to do, man? Do you want to do the movie review Monday, or do you want to do the Primo? You know what? I think we have to do movie review Monday first.
I was going to say, you don't want to come in right off the back like that.
Yeah. Again, if you want to be part of the show, call 210-305-7063, 210-305-7063. I got to think of a word that those 4 digits on the back end do, you know. That'll be my homework assignment for the day.
Yeah.
But for those of you who followed me back with my old radio show, I would do movie reviews on Wednesdays, and they were the nostalgic type because I didn't watch a lot of movies growing up. You know, typically, if it came out in the 70s or 80s, I didn't watch most of it. And I go back in time and do a nostalgic movie review. And I have promised Jeff Garcia, no matter how many people reach out to me and get pissed off about Transformers 1986, I will do that this summer. I promise you I will. I don't care if people protest. Okay. I don't care. Don't care. But in doing our first movie review for the Acquired Taste, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't do a nostalgic review. Maybe, just maybe, we should focus on a movie that just came out. Now, I'm not going to do any spoilers. Okay. Not going to do any spoilers about this particular movie, which is called Flamin' Hot. Flamin' Hot is one of the 7 biggest movies being streamed right now in the United States. It is on Hulu. So if you have Hulu, it's part of the subscription there. That being said, was this movie any good or not? No spoilers. So are you familiar with this movie, Joe?
I am familiar with the movie. I just have not seen it yet. But I know it's a backstory about how Hot Cheetos were made. The creator behind, or the mastermind behind Hot Cheetos.
That's exactly it. And it's a guy named Richard Montanez. And the actor Jesse Garcia portrays Richard Montanez, who's a Frito-Lay employee who claims that he and his family came up with the recipe for Flamin' Hot Cheetos. And I was looking at the Rotten Tomatoes to see if it got good reviews or not, and it got somewhere between mixed and generally positive reviews. Okay, it wasn't rave reviews, wasn't bad reviews. It was just kind of in the middle. Okay. Slightly above the middle. More positive than negative is what I would say. Andy Gonzalez plays his wife. The movie also features some big names. Tony Shalhoub, who I remember from Monk. He's in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He's an Emmy Award-winning guy. So Tony Shalhoub is on there. Dennis Haysbert's in there. So we remember Dennis Haysbert as Serrano from Major League. He was also was he in 24 also?
I think he was.
He's the All-State guy with the deep voice.
Yeah. Very iconic voice. You can't miss it.
Yes. And I watched it a couple of days ago, and then I rewatched the last 45 minutes again this morning just to jog my memory about it. Okay. Was it a good movie or was it a bad movie? Could it be both? Could it not be both? Eva Longoria directed this movie. It was such a big deal that the White House screened this movie outside the White House last week, right? You saw a lot of people there sipping on margaritas watching this movie. Okay, the movie was fine. I'm not going to say it was a great movie, but it wasn't a bad movie. It was, to me, it was just there, okay? I thought the ending was better than the beginning. I thought the beginning was a little bit cheesy. I thought the ending, the last 45 minutes or so.
No pun intended.
It was, yeah. Maybe pun was intended, but it was kind of a cheesy opening to the movie. And then the movie got better as it went along. And the thing about it is this. From an entertainment standpoint, it's passable. It is worth watching on a random Friday night, Saturday night at home. I would never have spent money to watch this at the theater, though. It is not theater quality movie, but it is worthy of a, hey, babe, you want to watch something tonight? Flamin' Hot is on Hulu. You want to check it out? It's worthy of that, but nothing more than that. My problem with this movie, though, is the factual accuracy of it. The Los Angeles Times did a 1-year investigation into this guy, Richard Montanez, to see if he was actually the person behind Flamin' Hot Cheetos and all the flamin' stuff. And according to the LA Times, he wasn't. In fact, they go on to say that not only was he not involved, that it was a lie and has lived on as an urban legend. So this movie portrays him and his family as being the masterminds, if you will, in the kitchen trying to figure this out because we need to market to the Latino markets, right? And apparently, according to the LA Times, the real life Richard Montanez, who when he first started working at Frito-Lay, was a janitor, like the movie portrayed, but he wasn't a janitor for over a decade. He was somebody who just rose through the ranks and ultimately did become a vice president of the company, did become an executive within the company, where he was doing marketing and advertising towards the Latino community. So he did go from a blue-collar janitorial guy into the VP, which is not a reveal of the movie. That's the whole point of the movie, right? They've been all about it. But they went on to say, the LA Times has gone on to say that no, that it's an urban legend because it's a legend that he perpetuates. That for the better part of 30 years that this guy, Richard Montanez, has been going around doing public speaking, making tens of thousands of dollars for each speech, perpetuating this notion that it was he and his family who created the recipe and that it was their idea and that he was the one who called the CEO of Frito-Lay to make this happen and all of this stuff. And LA Times said, dude, we interviewed dozens of people and it doesn't shake out that way. So the question becomes, when it comes to movies, do you just simply want to be entertained like the movie Gladiator? Are you not entertained? Or do you want it to be somewhat close to the truth? My good buddy James Pledger over at San Antonio Sports Star hates Friday Night Lights.
The series or the movie?
The movie.
Okay.
Because he says the movie's good, but he hates the fact that it's factually inaccurate.
Okay.
And there's other movies out there that are sports related, whether you can say about the inaccuracies of The Blind Side. Michael Oher, who The Blind Side is about, and Sandra Bullock went on to go win an Academy Award for it, has come out and said, dude, that movie is nowhere near accurate. And has said that he hates that movie. And that he hates talking about that movie. And then most recently, you have other movies coming out there. Well, not even most recently. What about movies like Remember the Titans, which is a very good movie that is not factually accurate? What about movies like Rudy?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a good movie. Is it accurate? Well, not according to Notre Dame. Okay. There weren't people who were giving away their jerseys so that he would play on his behalf. So how much artistic license are we going to allow movie makers when it comes to this? Because are we going to walk out of the movie thinking to yourself, my God, that's how it happens? Think about all the people who watch this movie Flamin' Hot. They're going to walk out of that movie thinking that that's actually what happened.
Yeah. I actually think he's the creator behind, the hot Cheetos.
That there was this Latino family, this Mexican family out there in California trying to save the plant, was out there in the kitchen, being scientists.
They were in the cocina.
They're in the cocina trying to figure it all out with all the spices, all the peppers, and that they figured it out, right? Joker reaches out to us on YouTube right now, says, congratulations on reaching 300 YouTube subscribers. Must have happened in the past hour.
Nice. Thanks. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Congratulations to you too. Eric reaches out and Eddie, says, Mike, please don't attack our hot Cheetos. LOL. I'm attacking certain premises.
The authenticity of the film.
Authenticity of the film. I mean, I saw another movie this weekend, 80 for Brady.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen that movie?
I haven't seen it, but I know what it's about.
Okay, so 80 for Brady stars Lily Tomlin, Sally Field, Jane Fonda, I think is one of the other ones, and Rita Moreno. And it's about these women in their late 70s to 80s who are Tom Brady fans and want to go to the Super Bowl, and how they became friends, who would watch Patriots games. And it was like a thing. They were superstitious, and they went on. Tom Brady appears in the movie. Tom Brady was actually a pretty good actor in it. I was surprised by it all. So I'm watching this movie. My wife and I thought it was cute. Not a great movie. It was fine. It's a good couples movie. It's a good movie for, hey, babe, I know it's your turn to pick, but would you want to watch this movie? Because at least you have the sports angle to it, right? It was funny. It was enjoyable. And then after the movie, what did I do? I looked up the people from this film, right? I looked it up and about these 4 women, and guess what? They never went to the Super Bowl in real life.
It was an embellishment.
It was a complete embellishment. And my wife is there going, I cannot believe all of that happened. I was like, well, I know why you can't believe it, because it actually didn't happen. It's artistic license. It's about 4 women. An article was written about them getting together, watching Patriots games in their 80s. They took that, and then Hollywood thought, you know what we're going to do? We're now going to take them to NRG Stadium in Houston, and they're going to go to the 28-3 game, the Atlanta Falcons, and then they're going to go and watch the greatest comeback of all time. They're going to have this artistic license to say all that, but it's all BS. It's all BS.
Yeah. It's kind of like that other movie that came out in 2008, Flash of Genius. And this was about the guy who was the mastermind behind the intermediate windshield wipers.
Yes.
And it shows him, and he's an inventor, and he's down and out, and he finally comes up with this great idea, and Ford takes it away from him and runs with it, But there's always some type of embellishment, in any movie, because if they wouldn't do that, it just wouldn't be as entertaining, I think. But when they start taking away the core of what made the story a story, it's no longer, you can't kind of say it's based on a true story.
Yeah, it's like how I asked the question on Twitter, how accurate do you want movies to be? I'm not looking for a documentary.
Yeah,
I'm okay with taking an artistic license when it comes to it. But like recently, movies like Elvis, Bohemian Rhapsody. Those are all movies that are completely sanitized by the people who created it. The movie Selena was sanitized because that was all the Quintanilla family involved, right? Do you think that that was an accurate movie, or was it a Disney type of movie that was brought forward to us and presented as fact by the family? The family had incentive for Selena to be viewed in a certain way. I would love for there to be a factual movie about Selena Quintanilla. I think we deserve it. Elvis, the same way. There was no mentioning of him banging a 14-year-old girl in Germany and then bring her to the United States. It was like why was Priscilla Presley not that much of a role of the movie Elvis? Now, there are some movies that deserve praise because they are very accurate. Movies like Ali by Muhammad Ali, maybe the movie Ray by Ray Charles, Invictus. You know what I found out today was a BS movie, was Cool Runnings.
Oh, dude, it's not going to be based like on actual like events that really happened in the way that they happened. It was based on the movie was based on the events, but it was a loose interpretation of it.
Oh, it was beyond loose.
I'm trying to be nice.
There was a Jamaican bobsled team, but they were not for former track stars that failed.
Yeah.
They were actually soldiers that trained for it. So it wasn't the whole movie that John Candy had. So that's why it just pissed me off. It just pissed me off. I hope we can go to 110 today because I have a lot to say.
Yeah, we could go.
Okay, we go a little bit longer. Okay, because I want to thank T Reyna rather, saying Jimenez keeping it 100 even if people don't agree. Thank you so much for that. And that's the thing about it, in talking about pop culture. So I mentioned yesterday on Twitter, and I was not going to have this as a premise of the show or one of the things that we were going to talk about, but I started watching the TV show Primo.
Oh, no.
All right. Primo is on Amazon. And before I got going, I wanted to watch it because Shea Serrano is behind it. Shea Serrano, New York Times bestseller. He's from the San Antonio area, also lived in Houston for quite some time. Shea Serrano is somebody that comes out on The Ringer. It's part of that whole network there with Bill Simmons. Talks a lot about pop culture, but from a rap perspective from the Houston area. He has books about basketball, about hip hop. I own most of his books. So first and foremost, I own most of Shea Serrano's books. I am a fan of Shea Serrano, and I listen to a lot of the podcasts that he's on. He does the rewatchables with Bill Simmons on the Ringer Network. Whenever he's on, I listen. Okay? So if I have anything critical to say, it's not because I'm coming at it because I don't like Shea Serrano. I respect the guy. I've met the guy. He was nice to me when I met him at a book signing. I got his autograph. Okay?
No, but shut up.
I bought his books and I got some photos with him. That being said, my wife and I watched the first episode of Primo. The number of laughs.
It's a show that he says is based out of San Antonio.
Based out of San Antonio, but oddly enough is filmed in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Now, I got excited 30 seconds into the show because the first episode shows this teenage boy in his bedroom, and he's got San Antonio Spurs banners in the background. Those pennants.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got them in the background. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's supposed to be San Antonio. Somehow it's filmed in New Mexico, but I digress. The thing about it is that my wife and I watched the entire first episode, and we laughed a combined 0 times.
Jeez.
And I go on to Rotten Tomatoes, and I see 100% certified fresh. Now, not a lot of people have reviewed this show. It only has like 8 to 16 reviews, depending on what you're looking at it. But it got 100% certified fresh. That's how you know it's good. And I'm watching this show, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I watching? It is so insulting. Dude, no. I'm tired of these TV shows and movies where Latinos are all in the hood, dude. All in the hood.
Yeah.
That's all. That's the entire representation of Latinos in U.S. society on TV is that we're all from the hood. We're all landscapers. We all dig ditches, right? We're all, the father's always out of the picture, right? It's a single mom. By the way, the person who plays the mom in that show was actually very good. She's probably the best part of the show. But my wife looked at me, and I'm not going to quote what she said because I don't think it's appropriate what she said. But she got pissed, and I got pissed. I didn't get pissed at her because I felt the same way. It's like, why is every story about Latinos from the hood? And I know that this is based on his life and all that stuff, and he grew up poor. I get that. But it was just like every single stereotype about uncles who don't value education, but they're all about family and all about like just someone's got to get their ass kicked today. Ha ha ha. Dude, that whole joke about someone's going to get their ass kicked today was said 5 or 6 times. It wasn't funny the first time. It wasn't funny the third or fourth time. It wasn't funny the 6th time either. Dude, we have a low bar as Latinos as to what we think is good when it comes to the representation of us in the media. It was a unfunny show full of stereotypes. And that might be his truth, and I get that. But the point I'm trying to make is that it doesn't involve, by the way, I just looked up at a YouTube comment, made me laugh, so I got to address that. Chris Gonzalez says, wait till Mike finds out Titanic didn't have a love story. Bite me, Chris.
I had to put that up there.
No, but the thing about it is this. I was thinking about it from a macro level, from a not this particular show, because Primo might actually be a good show. I just wasn't in the mood for it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that setting. Like there was a show that came on Hulu earlier this season called This Fool, right? Which was about a Latino family in California. A guy gets out of jail. He's living with his cousins and he's trying to assimilate back to life 15 years after being incarcerated. It's a funny show. A lot of stereotypes exist there, but I thought it was a funny show. Yeah. Okay. My whole thing about it is that I was like, dude, not another show where they're poor. Not another show where the little boy doesn't know if he wants to go to college or not. Not another show where the uncles are buffoons. Dude, the last joke of the first episode was a guy still not trying to figure out how to use an apostrophe.
Oh, man.
And I was there going, dude, this is what's funny? Really? And people are like, oh, well, they tie it all together. It's all about family. Like, dude, that's how sitcoms work. That's how sitcoms work. They tie it all together, right? Chris Pena reaches out to us and says, lazy writing, but there's so many interesting stories about many of us who didn't grow up poor or rich either. And that was the point I was trying to make because I was talking to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs earlier this morning. And people were coming at me. And he was like, dude, you pissed off some people. And I'm like, what I'm saying is from a macro level, the totality of what is in Hollywood about Latinos, it's always from the viewpoint of you don't value education. It's always from the viewpoint of they're silly. They want to they're violent, whether it's funny or not. It's always a single parent household. I was like, dude, I 10 minutes into the show, I was like, dude, I've seen this crap already. I mean, even if it turns into a good show and has good acting and all that stuff, I've seen this premise already. So the reason why I bring this up is because I look at Latinos that are portrayed in Hollywood, and I'm thinking to myself, where is our Dr. Huxtable? Where is our Philip Banks?
Yeah, that's what I was talking to you about before we came on air.
Where is the successful Latino?
Yeah.
Not the one who we have to see the story about how they climbed their way from the barrio. No. Where's the story about how they're already a success and they're trying to maintain that success? So you and I were going back and forth before the show started. Yeah. We're like, who's the Latino that is like the successful one that has been portrayed recently? The only one I can think of is from Desperate Housewives. Carlos Solis was the character. Yeah. So that is one that is like, okay, he was a successful business owner, had a beautiful home, had a beautiful wife, right? There was no backstory about, coming from the barrio and having parents who, single family household, all that crap. It was a character. And I went on to say, there's other people out there, like other shows that have good Latino characters, but not necessarily a Latino show. Brooklyn Nine-Nine has a character named Amy Santiago, has a character named Rosa Diaz. Those are good characters, but it's not a Latino show. So my question is that why does everything have to be portrayed from the eyes of the barrio? Because we're not all from there anymore.
Yeah.
You are in IT. I'm in finance.
Yeah.
My sisters are teachers. My brother's a doctor. My father-in-law is a pharmacist.
Yeah.
We don't all reside in the barrio anymore, man. Not every tale has to be there. And I'm not saying that those tales are not legitimate or that they shouldn't be told. What I'm saying is that they shouldn't be the only stories being told.
Being told about us as people.
Right.
Yeah.
So people reached out and were like, well, what about other movies that were barrio based? I'm like, well, some of them are legit and some of them are very good. Stand and Deliver, for example, was a very, very good movie.
Yeah.
But that was not a movie about uneducated Latinos. It was a movie about educated Latinos who were so smart that people didn't believe them. La Bamba was a really good movie.
Mario Cavazos is killing me, dude.
Tell me, what did he say?
He says they should have made a sitcom of a kid that graduated from Holmes High School and ended up winning a sports radio contest.
Thank you. I am a Holmes High School grad, but I don't consider Holmes High School to be barrio. When I went there to that school, it was the cool thing about going to Holmes was that we had a lot of everybody over there. We had a high concentration of Latinos, also a really big white population there. Because Southwest Research Center was right there in Culebra, you had a lot of Asians that were there. And then the African-American community was pretty high there too. I would say that probably all four races there had at least 10% there.
Yeah.
It was a very diverse school. There were people who had money, people who didn't have money. It was a working class / middle class high school that I went to. We all came from different places. I know my sisters grew up in the barrio, close to Las Palmas, 36th Street, and all that stuff. But their story of them being there changed because they're not there now. That's what I'm saying. My question is 40 years from now, are all the stories going to be about the barrio? Because not all Latinos live there anymore. I'm not saying don't tell those stories. I'm just saying don't have that be the only story. And
well, even the writer of the show, Cesar Serrano, he's not living in the barrio.
Right. And the thing about it is this, I am more fascinated by who Shea Serrano is right now.
Yeah.
I want a show about Shea Serrano at 35, 40 years old, whatever he is right now. I am more fascinated about his adult life than I am fascinated about who he was at 15.
Yeah, like how did he get here? What was his path to get here? What was his path to success?
And you can address it. You can address it and say, well, here's where I am now. I am now a success. I am more fascinated by his ability to get a show on Amazon than what he went through at 15.
Yeah.
I am more impressed by the fact that he was moonlighting as a journalist while being a high school teacher and developing a following. This is Shea Serrano's true story. And then developing a following and then becoming a best-selling author. I'm more fascinated about that than his 5 idiot uncles in the first episode of Primo. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't do a story about Shea Serrano.
Yeah.
I'm saying do the story about the 35-year-old Shea Serrano, the 25 to 40-year-old Shea Serrano. The 15, that's flashbacks, baby. That's flashbacks. I want to know what you're doing to be successful now.
Yeah, I got you.
And Robert Quintero reaches out to us and says, you're going to hate the DC's one Hispanic hero when the Blue Beetle comes out. LOL.
I got hope for the Blue Beetle. I went back and I was talking to you about this. And we as a Latino people really haven't had a Latino superhero on the big screen. So the Blue Beetle is the equivalent of our Black Panther.
Right.
And the kids being able to see a young superhero at that, not a middle-aged guy kind of, automatic, just, some way, somehow fall into a vat of acid or something and get superpowers. But they bring that aesthetic where it's something that's not of this world, along with, vibrant, colorful backdrops and these characters that they're building and this world building, and somebody who looks like these kids, acts like these kids, and has that family dynamic. I have hope for it. I want it to be a good representation for the Latino community, especially for the younger generation.
I had no idea what Blue Beetle was up until this morning. Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs reached out to me and was trying to pump me up about it. And I started looking into it. And I might be mispronouncing this name because how do you pronounce the first name Xolo? Is it Solo?
I think so. Let me look up his pronunciation again.
While you look that up, I'm gonna call it Zolo.
Yeah, it's Zolo.
Okay, so Zolo Maridueña is starring in the show in the Blue Beetle. I will watch it because he's in it. I am a fan of this guy, this young guy, because Cobra Kai. Yeah. He has been in Cobra Kai from the get-go. For those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, he is the one that Johnny Lawrence trained from the very beginning. He played Miguel Diaz on Cobra Kai. So if he's going to be in Blue Beetle, I will watch it because that is a guy that's a very good actor who did a very good job on Cobra Kai. He's 22 years old. He's from LA. He is somebody that I think is very talented, and I'll watch it.
Yeah, Matt Lerma's over here saying that I miss Doctor Strange too because they had a Latina in that film, but it wasn't what it is now. This is kind of it's a fictionalized story, Doctor Strange 2,
right?
The Multiverse of Madness. So they have America Chavez as the character, and she can kind of go through the multiverse. That's her power, being able to open the gateway in between and go to another universe. And I understand the story and everything behind it, and I thought it was great. They had her on screen, but they didn't dive real deep into it. And this is a different type of storytelling where now Doctor Strange was the main focus, right? And America Chavez was kind of like not the sidekick, but the second character, And then with the Blue Beetle, he's the main focus. His family is the main focus of this story. And at the core of the story, again, stereotypical thing, it's all about family, just like the Fast X.
Yeah.
It's all about family.
Well, the good thing is that if I would take any positive, so that it's not all doom and gloom. The positive is that there have been some very good Latino characters that have been developed for TV and in movies most recently. I'm a big fan of the TV show Superstore. America Ferrera was in there.
Yeah.
She played Amy Sosa. She was also in Ugly Betty back in the day. We mentioned the two Latinas that were in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Excellent show. I highly recommend that show. George Lopez, the George Lopez show. At least he was shown to be a success. He was the butt of jokes and the buffoon in the show. But I think there were more positives than negatives when it came to that.
That was a kind of a stereotypical middle-class family.
Stereotypical middle-class family, but I think there was more positives than negatives in that show. Wasn't perfect, but I thought it was more good than bad. Then you had a Modern Family. You had Sofia Vergara, who was on for 11 seasons. That is kind of stereotypical, but it's also kind of her.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's stereotypical when she wasn't actually acting. It seems more and more like she was just being herself, and that was her role on there. Judy Reyes has been in shows like Scrubs. She's been in shows like Devious Maids. That was also one that had Eva Longoria's fingerprints on as well. So I'm not saying that it's all doom and gloom when it comes to Latinos in Hollywood, but when I went to that TV show Primo, I was just tired of the premise.
Yeah.
And I would much rather it be from a sense of being honest as opposed to stereotypical. People reach out to me going, well, you probably hated Blood In, Blood Out. No, I love Blood In, Blood Out. Why? Because it was actually to the point.
Yeah.
It was to the point. I loved La Bamba. I think La Bamba is one of the greatest movies of all time, and I'll die on the hill that La Bamba is 100 times greater than the movie Selena.
Yeah.
La Bamba might be one of the best Latino flavored movies of all time. Bob will live forever.
Richie, the famous scene at the end.
I know, Richie. But my goodness, this has been a fun episode today, and we've had a lot to get into about this. I was trying to not be on my soapbox when it comes to all of this, but the fact of the matter is that I had to get it off my chest. There's nothing wrong with being from the barrio. There's nothing wrong from having humble beginnings. My family had them too.
Yeah.
The problem I have is that when everything that we see in Hollywood is coming from that viewpoint, that's inaccurate, because there are successful Latinos all over the place.
There's a lot of successful Latinos.
There are Latinos who value education. I told somebody yesterday that the biggest thing that you can do for your kids is have expectations for them. I'm not going to say that I'm the greatest father of all time. I had a very difficult time with my eldest daughter. My daughter's 19 years old. She turns 20 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
She's going to graduate from LSU in December at the age of 20.
Nice.
And has big goals and aspirations. And part of that was I was a good father, but I wasn't the greatest father, because we mess up along the way sometimes. You know, we're not always on point. You know,
Yeah.
we went through a divorce with her mom. I had custody of my daughter. There's conflict that sometimes arises, so it wasn't perfect, but my daughter is in a good place. But part of it was expectations. I have a younger daughter who's 10 years old, Ava. I tell her that she's going to college, and she tells me that she's going to college. It's the expectation of it all.
Yeah.
Father to father, if you're listening out there, have expectations for your kids.
Yeah. We just dropped my son off at Texas Tech today. My wife is driving back from Lubbock right now.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
man.
And he's out there for that art program, like I was telling you. So they have a whole week over at the Texas Tech, so they get to experience the dorm life.
That's right.
But more importantly, he gets to go ahead and interact with other artists that are around his age, and they put on a great show at the end of the week. They get to see all the art, you know, that the kids have worked on collectively. And it also gives them that exposure to the college lifestyle, you know, and my son is doing great in school right now. So I always tell him that college should be in his future, and he's, you know, looking towards educating himself, getting out there, and he understands the importance of higher education and how important that is
Right.
for you to be able to succeed and get the things that you want in life.
The goal, though, when it comes to expectations, I'm glad that you share that, because
Yeah.
that's amazing. Congratulations to
Thank
you and
you.
your family. There should be shows about things like this,
Yeah.
about how we take it to the next level. I stand on the shoulder of my parents. My parents struggled, you know, dropped out of school in middle school.
Oh, yeah.
I have a good life because I stand on their shoulders. My kids have an easier life than me because they stand on my shoulders, and their kids, if everything goes right, will have an easier life than them. One of the things that I do with my kids is that sometimes I drive them around and I say, hey, look, do not take our house for granted. We have a nice home.
Yeah.
Do not take it for granted, because there are others who are not as fortunate. When I look at expectations, not everybody is going to go to college. Not everybody can afford to go to college or anything like that. You do not need to go to college to be successful. I mean, dude, some of the most successful people I know have gone to trade schools for plumbing,
Yeah.
HVAC, for being an electrician, things like that.
You can make six figures as a freaking plumber, man.
You can.
Yeah.
Becoming a chef. You can do all sorts of things. So when I say expectations, I'm not saying that everyone needs to go to college. What I'm saying is that the expectation is that you have a pathway to success, and you know where you're going to go, and you know how to get there.
Yeah.
The most important thing, though, is to find somebody to mentor. And if we're all under the belief that we're all struggling, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because there are African Americans who are doing well for themselves. There are Asian Americans who are doing well for themselves. There are Latinos doing well for themselves. There are Anglos doing well for themselves. Being poor is not a culture. Being poor is a way of life because of circumstance. It's how do you get out of that?
Yeah.
And we need to be portrayed as people who are
strong and resilient.
Strong, resilient, and upwardly mobile.
Yeah.
And that we cherish things like education and family and all that. Maybe I'll give Remo another chance. Maybe I will. I was just tired of seeing the same stereotype all over again. This has been fun. Robert reaches out to us on our YouTube stream saying Thank you for the transparency. I'm an open book, dude. I'm an open book. And to be honest with you, I am not somebody who likes to sugarcoat things. You know, I am who I am. I stand by my words. And if people want to read into what I was saying as something different than what I actually posted, people reaching out and say, well, where is the Stone Oak or Alamo Ranch Latino? Thanks, Richard. Appreciate that. Michael Sanchez says, we watched it this weekend. I really liked it, but could not get the feeling out of my head that there was a lot of creative licensing involved. But perhaps that's the way it was meant to be. I think he's talking about the movie.
What, Flamin' Hot?
Flamin' Hot.
Yeah.
For the purposes of entertainment value, it was fine.
Yeah.
Then you go and read the
actual facts,
the reality of it all. You know, it's kind of like, dude, there are people who walk around today thinking that William Wallace from Braveheart was like really that dude. Man. Okay, dude. Like, don't go to movies for history lessons. Dude, the movies about the Alamo, for crying out loud. Don't go to the movies for history lessons. It's typically BS.
Yeah.
Almost 50% of it is going to be BS.
And if you want to know, I mean, you don't have access to go to the bookstore because you're on the south side and they don't have a lot of bookstores. I get that. You can go to your local library, man, and just look it up. You know, go on the internet, you know, check stuff out, factual, you know.
Mike Jones reaches out to us on YouTube and says, Eva Longoria's new movie about Hot Cheetos creator is pretty good. Yeah, it's all right. It was okay. It was okay. It was okay. Don't know what to say about it. It was okay. More than likely factually inaccurate, but you know what? I will say this about the guy that this movie's about. If this guy made tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years with this urban legend,
yeah,
and he got companies to shell over money for it, props, man.
Hey, man. Don't hate the player. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
Hate the game. But the thing about it, though, he was an executive within the company. He did rise from janitor to executive. That is a factual story. The way that the movie portrays it, the timeline's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't a janitor for decades at a time. Okay. He was a janitor for like less than a year. In reality, he climbed the corporate ladder in a different way. But, man, this has been fun. Again, I want to say thank you again to Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs. Don't forget to follow him at Jeff G Spurs Zone, rather. And then again, thank you again to our new sponsor. Show it to you one more time. Cynthia J. Sanchez from J. Parr Real Estate, 210-273-0748, 210-273-0748. Again, she mentions the fact that she's big with the military community. If you're trying to buy a home, sell a home, if you're looking at an investment property, looking at buying some potential Airbnbs, because San Antonio is known all for our tourism activities over here, reach out to Cynthia J. Sanchez, J. Parr Real Estate, 210-273-0748. Tomorrow's a big day. The mayor will be in studio with us. Mike Taylor, formerly of the Mike Taylor Show, will be on tomorrow. Super excited about that. We're going to get going again tomorrow at noon. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Congratulations to both of us. We have 300 subscribers now on YouTube in just 9 days. In just 9 days. This is a movement. This is a movement. It's going to take a little while, but notice how the sponsors are starting to come on in.
Yeah.
Got meetings with 2 others today.
Good stuff's coming.
We'll be back tomorrow with Mike Taylor. Everyone have a safe day. Enjoy the Juneteenth holiday. And reach out to me on Twitter. I am at MJ Acquired Taste. See you guys tomorrow.